Well, hello students, how are you doing? I got to teach you something today, and what I'm going to teach you about has to do with significant figures and math calculations. So what I want you to think about is I want you to think about the rulers that we used to do our measurement activity. We had a really poor ruler with very few markings. We had another ruler that was a little bit better, and then an actual ruler, which is the best, okay, because we get the most precise and accurate measurements. Now, if I use these different rulers and start adding up the measurements or multiplying up the measurements or subtracting the measurements, there are rules for how many significant figures can be in my final answer. What I want you to do is I want you to start by writing down the I can statement here. I can properly account for significant figures in calculation. So pause this video and write down that I can statement. Okay. Now, I have 4 different examples on the board. We got addition problem, I got a math problem, multiplication, and a division. Okay. So there are different rules when we're talking about adding, subtracting versus a rule for what you do when you're multiplying and dividing. Okay? So first of all, the rules for when you're adding and subtracting. I want you to take a moment, write this down, the addition and subtraction rule for sig figs. Okay? When adding or subtracting decimals, the answer must have the same number of decimal places as the number with the fewest decimal places to the right. Okay? Now just write that down. I'm going to wait a second. Now, when I read this, I think blah, 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 blah. Okay? Let me give you something that's just a little bit easier to remember. Here's what I always tell students about addition and subtraction with significant figures. If it sticks out, you cut it off. Okay? Key thing is, it is about decimal places, but if you got something sticking out from your decimal places, you're going to cut it off. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to add these 2 numbers together, and when I do, I get 18.5334. Okay. Here's the thing, I cannot keep all these decimal places because this measurement only goes to 2 decimal places. This measurement only goes, it actually goes all the way out to 4. So here's the thing, it's important you line up your decimals first of all. And I need you to notice that this right here beside the 2, okay, that's how many decimal places we can go out. So this sticks out, we're going to cut it off. Now, if this right here, the number beside our first 3 is 5 or greater, we'd round it up to 18.54, but it's not. So our final answer is 18.53 centimeters. We cut off those 2 numbers. Right? Same rule when you're subtracting. All right? If you subtract these 2 numbers, you come out with 25.443 milliliters. I cannot keep all those decimal places, all those significant figures, because right here, that's the number with the fewest decimal places to the right. So I need to cut off those 2 numbers right there, and my answer will be 25.4 milliliters. Okay? So for addition and subtraction, I want you to remember, if it sticks out, cut it off. All right? So now, there's a different rule for when you're multiplying and dividing. It's not about decimal places. It's about the number of sig figs in your measurements. Okay? So before I show you the rule, I'm just going to show you right here, this number 15.00. There's 4 significant figures. All 4 of those numbers are significant there. And in this, there's 2 significant figures. Both of these are significant. In our division, and by the way, I didn't mean for that D to mean division. That's our density formula. I got mass on the top divided by centimeters cubed or volume on the bottom. I got 80.0. There are 3 significant figures in that number. And there are also 3 down there that we're dividing it by. So here's the rule. For multiplication and division, the number of significant figures in your final answer has to be the same as whichever measurement has the fewest significant figures. Take a moment, pause your video, write that down. And so now, let's take a look at our multiplication. 4 sig figs right here in 15.00, that measurement. Only 2 in that measurement. My final answer can only have 2 significant figures because there's only 2 right here. So when you multiply that together, it comes out to 45. I cannot write any more decimal places, 0.0 or anything like that. I have to stop with these 2 sig figs, and that is my final answer, 45 centimeters squared. 2 sig figs here because 2 is the fewest in the problem itself. This one, they're both 3, so my final answer is going to have 3 sig figs. So 80 divided by 4 is 20. That right there, there's only 1 significant figure. If I had a decimal, now there's 2. I have to have 3. My final answer is 20.0, and I need my units, grams, centimeters cubed. Okay. Don't mix up these rules. Addition and subtraction, decimal places, if it sticks out, cut it off. If you're multiplying or dividing, whichever part of your problem has the fewest number of sig figs, that's how many sig figs you make your answer. All right, so honor students, I need you to do the homework that I assigned, and we'll practice this tomorrow.